Hi, my name is Tom. I live on the web at tdjacobs.com and also healingsuicide.com. And I want to do a little video on studying astrology with me and explain a couple of things. I say this, it's the end of January 2024, and around the vernal equinox, around March 20th, we'll begin my live course, Evolutionary Astrology Intermediate 1. And anybody who has worked through evolutionary astrology fundamentals 1 and 2, formerly basics 1 and 2, is eligible to do that. And right now I'm running a study group for people who want practice creating sentences of the karmic story, which I'll explain in a couple of minutes. But around March 20th starts the next live class. So it's the way that I teach astrology isn't from the ground up. This is kind of what I wanted to get through to you, or offer you this version of what it's like to study astrology with me. I don't teach basics. Sometimes people come in for tutoring sessions and want to know basics and what does Mars mean and what is the first house, and I'm happy to do that. But as far as when I teach courses, I don't have like a complete course where we start with the basics. And the reason for that is I'm so Uranian, I can't stand repeating myself or going back to like first through fifth grade. I can't, I just have to, I do advanced work. So I trust you to um, learn basics on your own in various ways from all kinds of wonderful teachers who are out there. And then if you want to understand why people are wired the way they are, why they do what they do, why they believe what they believe, how to change karma, what is karma, how to change it. If you want to get into that, then you come to me. When I was a kid, my mom used to say, "Oh, you'd be a great teacher," like a kid and a teenager. And I was always like, "I don't want to teach kids," because I had that image because I was a kid in school with kids being taught by adults. And she said, "No, no, not like, elementary school, but like college." And I was like, "Yeah, that makes more sense for me." Because going over basics is really important. But it's not my bag. So anyway, so what I do, ultimately, the goal of me teaching astrology is a very Aquarian age focus. So I'm kind of like living like it's the Aquarian age. We're in a slow, long transition to it. But basically, um, how to change karma, how to understand the multi-life. So it's a reincarnational approach, the multi-life effects of different experiences to understand the emotional and energetic things that contribute to beliefs that hinder or hamper or harden our vibrations. So it is true that you have free will and can change your vibration and upgrade your beliefs. It is true that what you think, what you choose, what you vibrate creates the reality around you. And this is kind of what I'm really focused on is how can you change that for the better when you want to or need to? And here's the main contribution is dealing with the unconscious material from other lives. So for me, when I do readings, I don't do sun, moon, rising readings. I don't just talk about basic personality traits. Again, if someone asks me, I do that. But my norm is this very forward-looking, kind of advanced thing from within the mind of the Ascended Master I channel, who was Thoth, Hermes, Jehudi, Saint Germain, that being Hermes. Yes, that Hermes. Um, from within that mind, where he says, this is how the soul sees your life. This is why it chose this chart. This is why it chose those contracts with other family members or with other souls that create family. This is why these patterns recur. Here's how to understand, identify, and change the underlying unconscious situations, the beliefs wrapped around emotions, which is how I define karma. So identifying and changing karma is the ultimate goal of my new certification program, essentially. So for a number of years, people have worked with EA fundamentals or basics 1 and 2 as home study courses, and that's how they're available now. I taught them live for a few years, and it was difficult getting through to people. And as one of my students said to me, you're talking about a spiritual teaching and turning it into an astrology teaching. And for some people, that doesn't make so much sense. It doesn't work. And she's right. She was definitely right about that. And So that's why you study it at home. And then if you want to continue, you can continue. If you don't, you're exposed to a new paradigm and a new method of chart analysis. And then you can move on with your life if you want. So anyway, so again, doing this video to give you an idea of what it's like to study astrology with me, learn your basics, learn your houses and signs and planets and aspects and things like that. And then when you want to really understand what makes a human tick, that's when you come to me. And I'll just tell you, I think I've said this in videos before, but when I was a kid, what I really wanted was to understand why people did what they did. That's what I wanted to do when I grew up. I wanted to understand why people did what they did. And I knew it was about their beliefs, but I didn't understand what it was or where those beliefs came from. Like in certain circumstances, I could understand, or at least give, create space for, um, oh, well, this guy does this because I don't know, maybe he's got this thing in his family and maybe that influences his behavior, his decisions. Why would he believe that? Well, maybe he was hurt in this way, or maybe she did this thing and had regrets, and so that maybe caused her to behave in a certain, I had that kind of sense of it. But when I got into studying with evolutionary astrologer Stephen Forrest in his apprenticeship program, that started in late 2004 is when I became involved in that. When I got in there, and then I kind of asked Jehudi to help me answer additional questions I had. Um, then I was like, oh my gosh, this is this is um this is what I always wanted, was to understand why people do what they do. And then of course the advancement or the evolution of this process is to help people change what they're vibrating, change what they believe, upgrade what they believe, so they can make the most of their time and manifest what they're here to do. So anyway, so EA Fundamentals 1, which is available now as a home study course, um, gets into the paradigm of soul, this model of soul that I use that is unique on the planet. It's unique in astrology, it's unique on the planet. A lot of people are drawn, the last few years, my partners pointed out that evolutionary astrology and traditional astrology have been booming with interest levels, people flocking to these two growing, niche areas of astrology, so to speak. Evolutionary astrology is a niche. I don't know if traditional is a niche, but these kind of areas of astrology. And I think the reason is because we talk about soul. Very different ways between those two different approaches, but we're talking about soul, and people are looking for a sense of meaning for their lives. And so the model of soul, definitions of karma and reincarnation, those are what start EA Fundamentals 1. And then an exploration of Pluto in terms of that, the empowerment journey the soul sets out for its humans in many lives, including you, including this life. This multidimensional approach. And then what about the nodes of the moon? What about the south node ruler by sign? So if the south node's Taurus, we're looking for Venus, the ruler by sign. Or if the south node's Aquarius, we're looking for Saturn, the ruler by sign. It's the only traditional thing I do is those traditional rulers. So anyway, um, that's, and then the start of work of using sentences, creating sentences for the 4-step story. And so in EA Fundamentals 1, you encounter you look at the chart and there's so many things going on, but we just start with one thing, which is Pluto, house, and sign. And so I provide keyword lists and examples for you to start making sentences. Like Pluto in the 10th house in Libra. This empowerment journey is about career and work, 10th house, approached in a a way that tries to be fair and balanced, Libra. And so we start with simple sentences like that, ignoring aspects, ignoring the retrograde status, and we just kind of get used to doing a 4-step story for a chart. Pluto being the empowerment journey the soul sets out for the human, step 1. Step 2, the south node of the moon. What is the conditioned worldview in many lives? How has this person been shown this is what the world is like? This is what the world should be like. So indicating family level soul contracts and conditioned beliefs about expecting the world to be a certain way. Step number 3 is a South Node ruler by sign, as I mentioned. And that is the person's unique role in the world and family in many lifetimes. So like I said, if South Node's in Taurus, I'm looking for Venus in the chart to tell me by house, sign, aspects, retrograde status, etc., how that person expects to be treated, how that person has become conditioned to be treated. And also what kind of special skills and talents that person shows up with over and over again in a bunch of different lifetimes. And that's where I say, like, my South Node ruler is conjunct Mercury in the third house in Sagittarius. And so my mom looks at me and goes, "You're a teacher," because I'm giving off the vibe that that's what I've been doing in all these different lifetimes. Anyway, so so we can understand a lot about people and how they fit into the world around them through understanding the South Node versus the South Node ruler, et cetera. And kind of like you're born into a world where these themes are emphasized, South Node, and then South Node ruler by sign, and you show up as this kind of person. Even in my chart, South Node's in Cancer, South Node rulers in Sagittarius. Well, there's a natural quincunx there. And so part of me will naturally bristle against too much fitting in because the quincunx is like oil and water. And I'll have to figure out a way to set myself apart, but also learn how to stay connected with that setup. So we understand a lot about people based in these, even just 3 steps so far. And then the fourth and final step of the story is the North Node of the Moon by house and sign, and if there are planets there, to understand what the person has not been taught by the family systems in all these lifetimes, including this one. What they need to learn to balance, integrate, move toward so they can balance it with the overemphasis of the habituated conditioned South Node. So in EA Basics or Fundamental 1, you learn to create those simple stories, 4 steps. And then in Fundamentals 2, it's practice over and over again with a bunch of different example charts from the Soul's Journey Soundbite database from my files, and you just practice with different placements and different signs and different houses, and just over and over again, getting used to the 4-step story and creating sentences. And what I'm doing in the tutoring group right now, the study group, is listening to the sentences people who have Fundamentals 1 and 2 have created, and making sure the things are in the right order. Because there's a bunch of different keywords you could use for Taurus or Aries or any sign of the first house or the third house, but I'm just listening for, are things in the right order? Are the adjectives in the right place? Are there enough nouns? And so I'm guiding people to become comfortable with the 4-step story process. When we get into intermediate 1, we start adding aspects to Pluto and then aspects to the nodes, and then start with Pluto's retrograde status, and then we get into the rest of the story and deepen it, and continue into intermediate 2 and then advanced 1 and 2. So anyway, so I just wanted to give you a sense of like why I teach astrology and how I teach it, because it's not a full course where you come in and you are one of many learning basics. That I don't teach basics right now. I don't know if I ever will. We'll see what happens. But the main thing is understanding why you do what you do and how to change your beliefs so you can change your life. That's really what I'm doing here. And as far as it being an Aquarian age teaching, it's a multidimensional view of a human, a multidimensional view, understanding that you change over time and you are affected in this life by what's in your unconscious, the memory banks accumulated over many lifetimes. So that sense of you as a universe unto yourself, potentially leading to more self-understanding, knowing who you are. This is an Aquarian age idea. People think that the Aquarian age is about, and now we have Pluto shifting into Aquarius, and so I'm sure people are talking about some of this stuff. The egalitarian, humanitarian, philanthropic, beautiful society, um, you know, kind of utopian idealism, things like this, right? Or utopian idealism. Anyway, that idea of like a perfect society and people banding together. But what really happens in the Aquarian archetype, which we're going to see a lot more of with Pluto there now, is people actually need to break free from consensus reality, from the forms that they live out or the groups they're part of or the behaviors they engage in or perform that seem normal or normative, to break free from them in order to individuate, to find out what really makes you tick. So this way of teaching astrology to help you understand your innate multi-life conditioned beliefs, to help you understand your blocks. Uh, this is a very Aquarian age thing. So you gain the word mastery, self-mastery keeps coming up in my mind, but you gain this wisdom about yourself and your journey, where you're coming from, where you're going. Even if you don't want to work with clients, you can study with me to really understand your own chart in a new multidimensional way. It's such a powerful approach. And I do blind readings of charts all the time with the Soul's Journey multi-life overview readings, where I go through your 4-step story in detail. And it's available through my consultations page. And I also do live consults, by the way, individual half-hour readings too, to help you with different things. But in that multi-life overview MP3, I might tell you the whole story with the aspects, with the retrogrades, with the whole bit, and give you a bunch of examples and teach you how to change beliefs. But when I do those blind readings, because I prefer it if I don't know anything about the person, because it's all in there. People respond, "You know me better than anybody I've ever known," or "I've been studying my chart for 30 years. I've even heard for 40 years. And this actually explains who I am. I don't know how you know this about me." You know, and it's because this approach frames the multi-life journey and all these possibilities in a way that expands our awareness and opens us up to multiple possibilities, this multidimensional way of thinking about astrology. So I'm excited to get the school going, the Soul's Journey, and I encourage you to check out the links I'll put in the um, description of the video to the EA Evolutionary Astrology Fundamentals 1 and 2 home study courses. And then you can sign up for my email list, follow my work page on Facebook, Evolutionary Astrology and Channeling with Tom Jacobs, or bookmark my blog or whatever. I don't know how you kids phrase that kind of thing. But anyway, I will be announcing soon more about the vernal equinox start for EA Intermediate 1. So anyway, I'm looking forward to working with you, whether in readings or in teaching or something like that, and classes. And take care of yourself. Check out what I'm up to at tdjacobs.com. Bye-bye.